Good morning, Peter Cameron.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's begin from the title. What do people do all day could somehow be read as the nocturnal side to what happens at night.
Yes, I felt because this is a book of short stories, it's hard to find a title that sort of works as for all the stories in the book. But I felt like this title, What Do People Do All Day, because it suggested many lives and many people doing different things, was sort of a perfect title for this book, which was about many different people. And it's interesting because I definitely wanted there to be a question mark at the end of this title, whereas with What Happens at Night, it could be a question, but actually there's no question mark on that title. So that's actually more of a statement, and this book is definitely more of a question about what is it that people do all day, and sort of trying to solve that mystery.
We know the motto, according to what you don't have to judge a book by its cover.
Right.
But in this case, maybe we can say that the cover depicts with great precision some of the themes you have depicted into your book.
I actually don't agree with that maxim, because I think people do always judge books by their covers, and so the covers of my books are very important to me, and often to the displeasure of my publishers, because they don't want the author to be involved with the covers of the book. But because it's important to me, I like to be involved, and I was very happy when they showed me the painting that they wanted to use for the cover of this book, because I felt it was a very evocative and interesting image and very beautiful. And I also felt like it's a little mysterious, and so it works for all the stories in the book. It connotes some of the atmosphere, I think, that's in all of my stories. So in this case, I was very pleased with the cover, and I think it's turned into a beautiful book.
Do you feel there is something in common between the characters of the short novel collected in the book?
I think yes. I mean, because I do tend to always write about people and about relationships between people. So in that way, the stories are very similar in that they're all about exploring relationships between people. But I think what makes them different is that they're all about very different people at very different stages of their life and living in very different places. And so the particulars of the stories are all very unique, I think. But the theme, I think, continues throughout the stories of people trying to both know themselves and to know the people that they're having relationships with and involved with and trying to love.
I found that in your novel, there's a particular attention to human being with its behavior. That's normal, I guess. But my question to you is, how does a writer improve his skill in observing?
I think just as a writer gets older and has different experiences and meets different people, of course, the way they observe people changes. The things you notice about people, the things that interest you about people all change. And I guess throughout my career, I've always just tried to observe people as empathetically as possible, to try and understand, not to judge people, but to understand them. And I think by understanding people, I guess that's, trying to see people not as villains, but as everybody, even when people behave badly or do unfortunate things, they're doing them for a reason, and they're doing them not necessarily to hurt people, but to try and make themselves feel more comfortable in their lives.
Which one do you feel is the right distance to keep between the things you are writing about and yourself?
I always feel much more comfortable writing about things that are distant from myself, and I think that's for two reasons. One is because I live my own life, and I'm very familiar with my own life, and so when I write, I like to be thinking about other places, other people's lives, and not to be thinking about my own life. And also, for some reason, having that distance, writing about not my life but other people's life, it makes it easier for me to, I think, be more forthcoming about things like emotions and feelings and thoughts, because I feel like even though I am revealing myself, I think, in an emotional way, I feel like I'm not revealing myself autobiographically, and so that gives me a freedom.
Oh, so I'd like to have a play with you about 3 words. So I'm gonna give you 3 words with no explanation at all whatsoever,
Okay.
and you just have to tell what it does evoke in you.
Okay?
Okay. The first word is music.
Music. Music for me, it's actually been a theme in my work because I love music and I love singing. I love people who sing songs. I think there's something very pure, almost in the way that a short story works, where somebody sings a song and they can affect people so intensely with a good song and a good singer. And it's a talent that I've always envied, and I'm a terrible singer. I can't sing very well at all. And so I've always, cabaret artists and people who communicate through song, I've always envied them very much. And I think it's such a powerful form of communication and such a beautiful way to communicate.
Hands.
Hands?
Yeah.
Hands. I think, I mean, what comes immediately to mind is how we experience so much of the world. I think we think we see so much and our eyes are so important, but I guess I feel like, you know, we don't think about how our hands are interacting with the world, but I feel like that the tactile way that hands let us experience the world and experience different textures and is all very important. And that's something I've always tried to include in my writing, to observe the world both sort of visually and tactily, and be aware of surfaces and fabrics and things like that, because I think the sense of touch is a very important one.
Okay, the last word is end.
Yeah, that's a good word, especially when you think about short stories, because with a short story, more than a novel, I think so much depends on the ending. And there's always this question in short stories is where to end, when to end the story. And it's a very delicate balance, I feel, because you want to bring the reader to a point where they can, where the story can affect them in some way, but you don't want to explain too much so that the story feels like it's being forced on the reader. So it's always this moment where you have to think about, should I end here? Should I go a little bit further? Should I go back a little bit? And there's often with stories, I feel like I do find the perfect ending, and often I feel like I keep thinking, you know, is this the right ending or is there a better ending?
How do we end this conversation? What can
That's
we
up
say?
to you, because see, that's not my problem. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter Cameron.
Okay, thank you.
Grazie, grazie mille.
Thank you.